I've got my Jill Scott going on in the background this evening, living my life like it's golden. Again, it's happy. I'm happy to be here with you on this Monday. Welcome to From Nervous to Natural. I'm Shauna King. For those of you who I have not met before, I am excited that you are here. Let's start beyond introductions. The way, if any of you, if I've ever been to your school or your organization, the way I always start is with a moment of gratitude, thinking about today, a new day. You may be at the end of your day. What's something that you're grateful for today? Just drop in the chat one thing that you are grateful for today, and let's just flood our chat with gratitude. I'm not sure if you guys can see the chat on your side the way I'm looking at it over here. I can see it, so I can tell you what folks are saying. You may or may not be able to. Uh-oh. Some people are grateful for the weather, the rain. It was time to get a little bit of rain. Everybody's not grateful for rain, but sometimes when we go without it, absolutely. I'm with you on that. Grateful for family, grateful for your daughter. I love it. I'm grateful for my daughter this evening. I'm literally running back from dropping her off at her senior evening. They're having some type of event at her school. So as you're dropping what you are grateful for in there today, I want you to know I'm grateful for you and your time today, for jumping into this quick webinar. We won't be here long, but I wanted to be able to provide some support for something that people have been asking me for a little bit. And it's not necessarily exactly the work that I do, but I wanted to be able to kind of meet the need if this is something that connects with some people. I'm seeing some more things that folks are grateful for. I love it. For a good day with with high school students. Yes, high school students. Today I was in it was a middle high school. I spent my morning in a middle high school in the Baltimore area. I really like the older ones too. I know some of you are elementary. I did a little bit of both. I taught at at the middle school level. I actually started my first year at high school, then I did middle school, and then as an administrator briefly, I was at the elementary school. So we kind of all find the area that fits us best. So again, thank you for doing that and for jumping in and connecting with me in the chat. Again, those of you who are just now coming in, wanted to give you an update. This is a webinar feature, so I don't see your faces. I don't see the little boxes this evening. It's being recorded and it is only me here. I would love for you to engage with me in the chat. And I would greatly appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get started with tonight's conversation. It's called From Nervous to Natural. And let me be honest with you where this comes from. It comes from my own story, because I am someone who speaks professionally now, but I was originally a very, very nervous speaker. My very first time presenting was not something that I would write home about at all. As a matter of fact, I almost felt like I was going to be sick because I was so nervous. And so the reason I did this conversation tonight is because some of you've been in situations where you may have been asked to just share a few ideas at the staff meeting, or to lead a PD, or maybe you have some knowledge in a particular area and you're really interested at presenting at a conference, or even some of you who may be a little less nervous and you're ready to say, you know what, I actually want to lead professional development and I want to be able to see if I can speak on stages and do those types of things. And so you're a little bit more advanced and you want to be able to see if you can take your speaking to a different level. So I may have a little bit of both in this area. If you're classroom based, if you're more classroom based, you're a teacher, or maybe you're a counselor, but you're not in administration, drop a 1 in the chat for me, please. If you are an educator, classroom based, drop a 1 in the chat for me, please. And then if you're in administration, central office, something else other than classroom based, drop a 2 in the chat for me. And if neither one of those fit you and you don't mind telling us your role, drop in your role. So I want to know exactly who I'm talking to this evening, so that I can make this as appropriate as possible. Okay, I got a lot of administrators in the house. A lot of administrators in the house. Hey, hey, a lot of administrators in the house. I love it. I love it. So we've got a little bit of both. I see that. Okay, we got a little bit of everybody, more administrators than anything. And that helps a lot for the conversation, because you guys know, you when you go into administration, there's something that happens. You are expected to speak on a regular basis. And so for many times we can be confident around in one situation but not necessarily in another. And that's what this conversation is about this evening. So how I actually started as a substitute teacher. I went on to be a classroom teacher. I did middle school for the majority of my time in the classroom. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. Some of you may not know that I taught in Prince George's County two Prince George's County middle schools before I then shifted to central office. I went from the school building to central office. I was in charge of a program called PBIS. Many of you may know that. Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports. And when I got that role was the first time that I was then responsible for doing more professional development and sharing about what PBIS is for teachers, for administrators. I even had the opportunity to share on the state level about PBIS. But just because I had the content knowledge didn't mean that I was comfortable in front of the crowd. It was just basically, Shauna, this is we want you to tell what's going on in Prince George's County and highlight your gold schools and the awards that they're getting. So you're going to be on the stage and share with everyone. And I was like, wait, how does that work? So how I started was not as someone who decided to be a speaker, who decided to do professional development full time. That's not my story. My story really is, as I began in my work, and it developed that way, it became a job requirement. It became a job requirement. And so those of you who are principals or administrators, sometimes you have to do parent meetings or community meetings, and you have to represent your school, and you are put in front of an audience. And for some people, that's not a big deal, but for some, that is something that can be stressful. So now I've gone on to be able to deliver workshops in several different settings that I do. I may have been, if I've been to your school at some point, if I have been to your school at some point, drop a 1 in the chat. I'm just curious. I think I'm talking to a lot of family. If I've been to your school or maybe your organization before, drop a 1 in the chat so I can know. I don't have to do this full introduction with you. Many of you, yeah, okay, awesome. Awesome. So you'll see me here doing a variety of different presentations for small groups, for large groups. I also do keynotes where I'm more on the stage doing the talking, where in the workshop format, they're right there with you. It's more of a conversation classroom style, but sometimes it can be a keynote where they invite you to be on a stage and actually deliver in more of a lecture style. And I've done those types of things as well. And again, this wasn't because I was seeking to do this. This was because as you get more information, people will call on you to say, here, can you share that information with us? And the venue may be different. But I'm honored to say, and it's 2025 now, that this year I was able to do something that I actually always had kind of dreamed of, but was also nervous to do, and that's my first TED Talk. I did a TED Talk in TEDx Mableton, which is down in Georgia. Some of you may be familiar. It's just outside of Atlanta. And delivered my signature talk, which is called What We Say Matters, and focused it on teaching respect in a disrespectful world. It's live on YouTube, so some of you may have already seen it. If not, and you've got 12 good minutes to hear me talk about What We Say Matters, go ahead, check that out. All you have to do is put my name in a YouTube search, and it will come out. But that's why I wanted to share this conversation this evening, because right now you might be either the classroom teacher who has to do back to school night presentations, who has to talk to parents maybe in small groups, or has to occasionally deliver a PD in front of your staff. Or you might be someone like a community school coordinator. So I work with a lot of community schools. You might be the community school coordinator where you have to go to community partners and have conversations and present to them, and get your message of kind of selling your school, and you're the representative in the face of it, and you have to present in front of them. Or, like many of you, you're the administrator. You're the administrator in the building, and you are expected on a regular basis to stand up and to present. Or you're interested in doing a little bit more with your presenting at conferences. Those of you who may be in Anne Arundel County or other districts where there are local conferences that are hosted right in your district. I was at the RISE conference this summer in Anne Arundel County, and you guys are amazing with having teacher leaders and administrators lead some of those breakout sessions. And that's a wonderful thing, a wonderful muscle to stretch to be able to share your knowledge. But sometimes I've had adults tell me, I was really, really nervous about doing that. How do I deliver the best type of professional development? When honestly, sometimes professional development gets a bad rap. Professional development gets a bad rap. And I'm just going to say it out loud, even though many of you already know it. Development gets a bad rap because there's a lot of bad professional development that happens. There's a lot of bad professional development that happens. And so that's why I wanted to share this, if this can be beneficial to any of you when it comes to the next time you have to present. So today, in these few moments, I'm going to share three things. One, I want to help us recognize the pitfalls that educators face when presenting to adults, and why adult engagement is different than teaching young people, because it is different. It is different. Two, I'm going to give you a simple 5-step framework that helps if you ever have 15 minutes. And the reason I chose 15 minutes is because I can't tell you how often someone will say to me, usually a principal or somebody like that in a staff meeting, who says, okay, I can give you 15 minutes on the agenda. You ever heard that before? I can give you 15 minutes on the agenda. And I know when I was doing PBIS, I lived off of 15-minute PDs. My PBIS schools that I was working with, I'd call the principals and I say, we're going to implement this next year, want to go over it with your staff? And they would say, I can give you 15 minutes on the next staff agenda. Because we know often your staff meetings, you don't have a lot of time, but what can you really do with that much time? And I'm going to show you, you absolutely can. Or if you're a leader and you want to be able to do some type of 15-minute or some type of presentation for another group where you just have a small time frame that's given you, then you can do that. That's my goal for this evening. And then at the end, I'll share with you if there's something more that you're interested in, an opportunity that you can have as well. And then finally, we're going to understand why adult learning psychology and how to adapt for it. So I've got a question for you. If you were to put a number to how often you present for adults, let's say in a year, if you would say it's between 0 and 5 times, put a 1. Between 0 and 5 times you present for adults in a year. If it's between 6 and 20, put a 2. If it's more than 20 times a year that you find yourself presenting in front of adults, put a 3. Okay? 0 to 5, you're putting a 1. 6 to 20, you're putting a 2. More than 20 times a year, put a 3. How often do you have to present in front of adults? All right, I see. Okay, great. I've got a mixture. A lot of 2s and 3s, a couple 1s. Okay. All right. All right, so we've got some experienced speakers in the room. I love it, folks who do this on a regular basis. So you'll be able to take this framework at the as soon as this session is over, adapt it to your work. And those of you who don't get an opportunity to do it, it sounds like it's going to be something that you can do soon. And I really will encourage you to find what it is that you do present on and attach it to this framework. So let's jump in. One of the things that I do at the end of every session, and if those of you who are speakers, those of you who, if you put a 2 or a 3, I'm going to encourage you to do this, even if your presentations are only in your school building. Please gather feedback. please gather feedback. We talk about the importance of assessments when it comes to students. As adults, we need to be able to listen to the feedback that our colleagues give us as well. It doesn't have to be something as long and detailed as this. If you, this is a program that I use called Talkadot. I'll drop it in the chat if anybody wants that. Talkadot is a program that allows whoever you're speaking to give you actionable feedback. I use this every single time I speak. And when you do this, what it does is it asks questions of your audience immediately following your session. Now, I will say, if you decide that you are someone who is interested in speaking and you want to use Talkadot, something like this, check out the link. But before you sign up for it, because I'm already a member, I get you free 30 days. So don't sign up on your own. I can get you free 30 days. If you decide to do that, just email me. I can get that to you. But what this does is it gives you a report at the end of your session with what people say. This comes to me. I can choose to share it with the organizer or the leader, and usually I do. But this is feedback, regular feedback for me. It also gives the opportunity for them to write in comments. So if they say, Shauna, you spent way too much time on your introduction, that's feedback. If they say, Shauna, I really like the activity that you did here, that's feedback. No matter what we do, we want to be able to say, did we engage the learner in a way that met their needs? And sometimes as adults, we're scared to ask our other colleagues, how'd I do? How'd I do? And I'm not just talking about asking your friends, because your friends are like, oh girl, that was good. I'm talking about going ahead and letting them, and they can respond anonymously, to share with you, how was it? Was it valuable? Was it engaging? Was it inspiring? Was it relevant? Was it interactive? Because as a speaker, you want to be able to be responsive to the feedback of others. Okay? So why now? And as I'm talking to you, if you have a question, go ahead, drop it in the chat. I will pause momentarily and get to those, and we'll definitely have a question and answer period at the end. So the question is, why now? Why did I do this now? Well, the reason I did this is twofold. One, because folks have been asking me. Two, the reason I've done this is because one of the services that I provide for schools is working with the leaders, for example, instructional leaders or coaches, the folks in the building. So if I'm working with a school, there may be department chairs or the mentor teachers or the coaches, and I will work with them on these exact same skills. So this is a part of a service when I'm working with schools or school districts that I can do as I work with the entire teachers. I can also laser focus on the leaders who may be doing presenting, and we do some conversations around adult learning. Okay. And then 3, if there's anybody who's interested, the month of January and February are very big for what we call for presenters. The call for presenters is when there are conferences that are coming up and they're looking for speakers. If you are interested in applying to speak at a local, state, or national conference, the months of January and February are primed for you to start looking for those types of applications and to start saying, let me put my name in the hat, so that you can present on in different locations. So that's why I wanted to do this now. But again, what feels natural with kids can feel intimidating with adults. And so maybe you're one who had no problem talking to children. You can even run lunch duty and talk to all of the kids. But when it comes to in front of the adults, something is a little different. So let's see what we think here. And I'm going to let you go ahead and put some true false in the chat, and I'll see your responses on this. Let's do the first one. People remember facts and data more than stories and emotions in a presentation. Is that true or false? Drop it in the chat. T or F. Let's see. You guys got that one. I don't think I had one true on that one. Right. We remember in your presentations, people remember stories and emotions. Your facts and data are important. I'm not saying don't put them in there. I'm just saying remember what usually gets remembered are not the facts and data. So even if you can turn your fact and data into a story or something that evokes some type of emotion, it actually will land better. The second one, if a presentation is well structured, adult learners will stay engaged without interaction or movement. What do you think? True or false? Some of you are not sure about that one. Mm, some people are scared to say true. The answer is actually true. You can structure your presentation even if they're not getting up and talking, getting up and moving. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be a 4 hour presentation that's that way, but sometimes we only have 15 minutes, maybe 20, 25 at the most, and you may not have the opportunity for your participants to actually get up and talk and do something. It is possible to engage the brain, and really the science says up to 25 minutes without any type of interaction. Once you go over 25 minutes, hear me. Once you go over 25 minutes at that 30-minute mark at the latest, you need some form of interaction. And when I mean interaction, they're talking to each other, you're answering questions, there's something. You throw in a quiz like this one, there has to be some form of interaction or the brain is going to check out. Number three, using pauses and varying vocal tone can enhance audience engagement and retention. What do you think? Is that true or false? There we go. There we go. I see y'all fast on that one. That one's true. That one's true. I don't have to say anything more about that. Go ahead. Number four, a strong opening is crucial because the brain decides within the first 2 minutes whether to stay engaged or disengage. True or false? Are we sure about that one? Yeah, I think I still got all truths on that one too. Yep, 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 yep. And that is true. And finally, engaging adult learners means giving them as much information as possible during a session. Is that true or false? Thank you. We are quick to say at false on that. No, 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 no. It is not about information overload. It is not. All right, you guys, I think some of you got a 5 out of 5 on that quiz. That's y'all the masters on this one. I got it. I see it. I see it. All right. So here are the two myths, and some of you already know because based on your results from the quiz, I know you already know. Two popular myths is the more slides, the better, and that adults will automatically engage. It is not the more slides, the better. Please don't do death by PowerPoint. Please don't. If you have, and the recommended standard, I will still say that I was trained to use, that I try to still stay with, is a minute per slide. Even a minute per slide can be a bit much. It can be a bit much, but no more than that. So if I have 30 minutes, 30 slides is my max. And even 30 slides would be a lot. That's if I'm going very quickly and those slides are not heavy text. Okay? Two, adults will automatically engage. Often we take the time to do what we need to do to engage children and to engage young people that we don't do. We expect adults to just do that, to just pay attention. And that's not always the way it works. We still have to be intentional about thinking about the adult brain and how the adult brain attunes to learning. So I share this one. This is the other part of the Talkadot feedback. So the first part of the Talkadot feedback that I showed you was like the overall summary. In addition to that, they give you opportunities. They give the participants opportunities to actually type in their feedback. And I'm sharing you this one for one reason. It's for the last one. This is not a flex, but I can tell you how often, well, maybe it is, I don't know, how often I get that last comment. I would love to tell you it's because I'm wonderful, all those types of things. I think I'm good at what I do. However, often what I hear is that there has been so much bad PD that when they actually have one that acknowledges the brains of adults, people are surprised, right? Okay. And so, what I want is for educators to, I enjoy, of course, I want that whatever session that I do, that participants are pleased with it and feel like they learned something. But I also don't like for it to be such an anomaly that professional development is actually useful or actually engaging. Because what happens when I walk in, and many of you know this, when I walk in and someone says, okay, today we have professional development, many teachers are like, oh, already. It sets me up, it sets all of us up to have a level of expectation that this is about to suck. It really does. It really does. So I'm trying to, in those first few minutes, to try to dispel the myth that this next hour, hour and a half, or however long we're going to be together is going to be torture. And so my sharing this knowledge with you is really to help me too, because what's begun to happen is there is such a distaste for PD that when someone actually has one that's good, they're like, wow, that shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case. So let's get into a little bit more about how do we do this. So more isn't better. Clarity is better than quantity. That's talking about your slides. If you have slides, that's wonderful. The slides are just your guides. Your slides are just your guides. No one is interested in a boring slide. This first, if you look up top here, this is a boring slide. You've taken a template, you've put in all your thoughts into a template. We all are learning more about AI. If you have become a Gamma fan, that's wonderful. Please do not take all of the things that you know, throw it into Gamma, let it put it all that text on the slide and think you've done something. Please don't do that. That does not create an engaging PD. Please also, we know, when have we had the presenters who read the entire slides, who say word for word everything that's there? I can read, sweetie. I don't need you to do that. If we do this, if we put up the boring slides, we just put up the templates that we have designed or that we've gotten from our newest AI tool, and we dump all of our thoughts in there and we read them to our audience, be prepared to wake up your audience or catch them as they walk out. Be prepared for that. Even in the designing of your slides, you want to be intentional to say, what's a clean way? What am I trying to say here? So if you look at the one at the bottom, they've used a graphic, they've used a chart, a little bit of images to be able to say, how can I take the information that's on my slide and make sure it's visual to the eye, not just heavy text? Because the truth is, this is the one thing I want you to remember, is adults don't need more information. They need motivation to act. Do not think that the more information you give is what's best. They need motivation to act. And I'm going to give you an example of that today. And then once you do the presentation, don't just end, okay, how was that? Anybody got any questions? No. We're going to end with clarity and we're going to end with confidence. And we're going to be intentional about that. Okay? So, are you ready to see the framework that I developed, the framework that I use for all of my presentations? Now, many of you who've been in my presentations, you'll know that things might change up the topics. I do many things around school culture, behavior, around hope, around engagement, brain-based learning, all of those types of things. But I can tell you, if I had to shrink it down shrink it down into kind of how I design them. That's what I'm about to show you today. Again, whether or not I'm doing a 30-minute or a 60-minute or a half-day workshop, of course, is going to have more in it. But I'm going to give you kind of a general framework of what this looks like. So first, let's go ahead and tell you the five part. We start with a hook. We go to why it matters. We think about our one big idea that you want them to remember. You do a try this, and then you close with confidence. That's it. We start with a hook, why it matters, what's the one big idea. Now, the reason I'm saying one big idea, because remember, I'm using the framework today for a 15-minute PD. If you're doing a 15-minute something, one big idea, a try this, and a close with confidence. Some of you are already saying, Shauna, that's not enough. What about I got to list all the 15 things I want them to do? I need you to work with me and decide what's the one big idea you want them to stick with. And I'll show you how we do that. So I'm going to start with the topic that I did most of my trainings on probably for the last 20 years, which is classroom management. And everybody in here has been in a presentation on classroom management at some point. Some of you may have delivered a presentation on classroom management. It's happened at every school. And you've probably seen a slide like this. Here are our classroom management strategies. Make sure you establish clear rules. Make sure you maintain consistent rules. You want to use some positive reinforcement, maybe your 5-to-1 if you're using a PBIS buck or incentive. And then you also want to make sure you have implemented consequences. I can't tell you how many times this presentation has happened at schools across the country. Boring. Not that any of this is wrong, just boring. And how you present this makes a difference. How many of you want to sit through another workshop that just says this stuff? Truth is, you already know this. Most of the time when we're telling teachers and educators stuff, they already know it anyway. So how can I change this into something that would engage the adult brain a little bit better? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm glad you're here. So this is how I would transform a simple classroom management presentation into something using what I call the 5-slide arc, which is how it's developed. So we start with the hook. We start with the hook, and the hook is designed to gain the attention of your audience. What does that look like? What that looks like is, how many of you have dealt with a behavior at all today? Raise your hand. Let me tell you, some of you may have heard me say that. Look, go ahead, raise your hand. I know, right? Because what my hook was, my introduction was something that says, this is something that is relevant for you. I am going to ask a question like, how many of you have dealt with a misbehavior in the last week? You ask a question, and that question should be wide enough that almost everybody in that room can say yes. Okay? You don't want to ask a question that it's only going to be 2 or 3 people. You want to ask a question that will apply to as many people in that room. And when it comes to behavior, that's not hard. How many of you have ever dealt with a behavior? That's easy. But let's say I were to say, how many of you have children or know someone who does? Right? Right. Because I know that's everybody. Frame your hook in a way that gets your audience in immediately. Okay, so whether I'm speaking to parents, whether I'm speaking to classroom teachers, paraprofessionals, I want to think of something that applies to as many as possible. So, for example, I was at a workshop. I think I see some folks from York. I don't know if you were in that session. I was in a session in York earlier this week, and the question I asked was, how many of you have dealt with any stress? Right? So you want to hook. Now you want to link it somehow to your presentation. You want to link it to your presentation, but you want to think of a question that is far and wide. And notice what I also did. I modeled what I wanted them to do. I said, how many of you have dealt with a misbehavior? When you do this, it prompts the brain to model what the speaker is doing. Okay? If I do not raise my hand, if I say, how many of you have dealt with a misbehavior? There may be some people who agree with me, but they're not going to do anything. And if I say, raise your hand, and I don't do it, what will begin to happen is they'll look around to see if anybody else is raising their hand, and the chances of them doing it are slimmer. Whatever you ask your audience to do, you model. Okay? That's the hook. How many of you have children or know someone who does? How many of you have dealt with some stress this year? How many of you are looking forward to spring break? Something. Think of a hook that works with your topic. Okay, so let's say you're the special education chairperson or something like that. How many of you would love a couple of strategies about how to minimize the or how to engage your special education students better, right? Think of something that they'll want to connect to. That's the hook. That's step one. The second part is the why it matters. Why is it so important that you learn effective classroom management? No one needs to set, you don't need to be like, you don't need to give a definition of classroom management, all those types of things. Just why is it important? Okay? You guys know why it's important. It helps the students to learn better. You can get through the curricula faster. It minimizes disruptions. It helps students feel safe and belong. Those types of things are why it matters. So you're going to start with the hook, and then you're going to go straight into, it's super important that we have this because the outcomes of having great classroom management are this, this, and this. Students learn more, less stress, and we can all get along better, right? Think about whatever it is. Connect the hook to why it matters, okay? If I'm doing adolescent brain development course, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to ask them a hook. How many of you have brought your brains today or wish you had? Right? Then we're going to talk about why it's important that the brain, that knowing about the brain is important, because a lot of times we weren't taught about brain-based learning in college, but we engage brains every day. So that's why we need to learn about it. I'm going to take some time to talk about why it matters. Next, I'm going to give them the one big idea. I'm going to give them the one big idea. And what that one big idea is my takeaway. If they were to forget everything else, I'm going to actually say, if you don't remember anything else I say today, this is what I want you to remember. The power of being consistent. Okay, if I was doing the classroom management workshop, that is, okay, our consistency is super important. It's not saying that I'm not going to talk about consequences and expectations and stuff like that, but the one big umbrella idea is the power of consistency. Okay, my one big idea when it comes to this one is you can do it in 5 slides. Sometimes less is more. That's step 3. And step 4 is a try this. Please do not just tell them what to do. You want to be able to give them something where they are trying this. So the try this is set a positive tone from the start. So if I was doing this in 15 minutes, I would ask them, what's something you've done at the beginning of the year to start off fresh? Teachers will give me ideas. I stand at my door. I went over the expectations. I called parents. I build relationships. One idea. I'm going to do the try this because what I'm doing is letting them know that I'm affirming some of the things I've done, but I'm also getting all the ideas from the group. I don't have to put them on a slide. Once they hear all the things that their colleagues are saying, that's the try this. And they're getting the information from their colleagues, which is different voices. because the brain needs to hear different voices. I know I'm the facilitator. I know I'm the professional development person. I know all those different strategies too, but the brain hears it better if it hears it from different voices. So sometimes we have got to stop being the talking head. So especially I'm saying this for some of us who deliver professional development or want to be a speaker. Please don't ever get so enamored with your own voice that you don't let your audience talk. Okay? And it has nothing to do with how brilliant you are, how much information that you know, but the brain learns, it'll hear you, but it'll also hear other people. And people respect when you acknowledge that you're not the only one who knows something, that they know something as well. And finally, we're going to end with a confident close. A confident close is a hopeful message. Those of you who've been in any of my workshops know I try to end with either a story or something that gives some hope so that you can let people know you can do this. Especially in the education field, we've got to take our information and connect it to some inspiration as well. Give them the confident close of what they're going to do tomorrow, the fact that they're making a difference in the lives of children, that they can do this. Okay, so I'm just showing you the five slides that you would do if you only have 15 minutes. I'll go over that really quickly again. You start with your hook. You do your why. You give your one big idea. You do a try this, and then you have a confident close. Then you have a confident close. If I could give you any other takeaways, even though I don't want to give you too many, is cut your slide deck in half. If you got too many slides, figure out what exactly you need to say. When I've worked with presenters, when I've coached presenters before, often what happens is I say to them, your talking points are on your slides. You don't need to type out everything you're going to say on your slide. You should be able to have your slide as the guide and you do the talking. I should not have to read everything you're going to say. Okay, so often I'll go through their slides and we take much of that information and move it down to the presenter portion only, where it's the notes. It's not actually to be seen for everybody else. The second thing is they want to see you confident, right? Adults want to see confidence the same way children want to see confidence in you. And the way you develop confidence is to know what you're going to say. If you got to practice it and practice it, I still practice my presentations. I still talk to myself in the car before I go towards a presentation. You want to be able to have that level of confidence. Don't get in front of people and look unprepared. And finally, your goal of whatever you're talking about is to inspire action, not, oh, I'm glad this is over. I'm glad this is over. All right. So remember, I said adults don't need more information. They need the motivation to act. They need the motivation to act. So I'm at 6:45. Has this information been somewhat helpful for you right now? If it has been somewhat helpful for you, drop a 1 in the chat for me, please. And I'm going to get to questions in a moment. If you've heard something today that's been helpful, drop a 1 in the chat. Great. Great. Great, 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 great. I am happy to hear that. There's so much more that I could share with you. And if I have permission to share with you an opportunity, if you are interested, I am working on something. As I said, people have asked me for this. What I have developed is what's called the Speak for Impact Educators Edition. Because this is something that I've typically only done for schools. Those of you who know me, you know I've been working with your schools, your organization. Because I've had more people who've come to me personally who have said, Shauna, I want to be a better presenter. Shauna, I have to speak and I'm a little bit uncomfortable doing this. I've had more people asking me that. I am in the process of, we are putting the final touches on what's called Speak for Impact Educators Edition. What it's going to be, or what it is is it's a course for educators. It's not for just anybody. It's not for anybody who wants to be a corporate speaker. It's specifically geared for educators who are comfortable with adults and comfortable with kids, and you know how to do the education thing, but you either have a skill or a knowledge that you want to share, maybe at conferences, or maybe you want to begin to do a little bit professional development on the side, or maybe you want to do a TED Talk yourself. Go ahead, do it. We can chat about that if you're interested in trying to figure out how to do a TED Talk. If that's you, what I'm developing is an 8 module course. It is not completely done because I am making it for educators like you, and I need your help. I want to be able to make sure that this is super beneficial for everyone. So before I launch it on a large platform, I'm doing what's called a founders cohort. And in this founders cohort, it's 8 modules, and there will be 2 live coaching days. During those 2 live coaching days, I will be with you for 90 minutes coaching speakers. If you have something you're working on, whether it's a professional development session, a conference presentation, something that you're working on, I'm going to be spending that time during live coaching. Okay? This is after you finish the modules in the course, though. The course must be finished, and then once you're finished the course, you'll be able to, during that live coaching days, be able to come, and then I can actually coach you. Now, if you don't finish the 8 module course, it's fine, but you won't be eligible for the live coaching just yet. And the modules are not going to be difficult. It's just I've taken the time to put the information in the course, so I really want to be able to make sure that you've gone through that learning first, and then once you've created something, then I can give you some real-time feedback. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So what you'll see is a QR code. The QR code will take you to an interest form. I'm not collecting any money tonight. I'm not doing any of that type of stuff, but I want to let you know that there is a price associated with it, because you will have an opportunity to have one-on-one time with me. And so there's a founder's price that's going to be different than when it's launched for everybody else. So because you're here, you'll be able to take advantage of that. If you are interested in that, let me go back to the QR code, excuse me. If you're interested in that, this QR code just says, Shauna, let me know when it's ready. Okay? And let me tell you, that's going to happen in the next 7 days. Okay? Let me know when the Speak for Impact course goes live. Once it goes live, it will come to you first. It will come to you first, so that you can register for it. I'm doing a very small cohort of people because I am allowing for the live coaching. And I can't really do that for 20, 30 people. I don't have my travel schedule doesn't allow me to have the time to do that. But if you're really interested in it, I encourage you to jump in on that. Go ahead, scan the QR code. It will take you to the form. That form is just, yes, keep me interested, keep me on the list. I will send you the information when it comes out. And again, you will be able to have the special founders price at the early part of it before it goes live elsewhere. Okay? So again, if you know that, you know what, I think professional development is something I really would like to do, or I'm in a situation where I'm the principal and I speak all the time and I really need to hone my skills. I need to hone my skills. I tell you, spend these 8 modules with me, those 2 coaching days with me, and in the next 2 months, you'll have it. You'll have it. You'll have a level of confidence that you can go in front of a crowd, you can go in front of people and be able to deliver with a level of clarity and confidence that you didn't have before. And I would really love to work with you. So if that's of interest to you, please be sure, again, the QR code is there. Let me know and I'll be in touch with you. All right. I am going to stop the recording at this time. And does anybody have any questions? Because I took the screen down, let me put the link in the chat for that Google form. And then I will open it up if anybody has questions. Okay. All right, see if that works for you. Some of you had problem with the code. There is the form right there. And we will